And the particular case I quoted is when I had a fuel leak mid-Atlantic, which is an interesting thing at 4 a.m. coming back from Chicago in a 4-engine jet. And actually, there's your crisis, right? So there are a number of possible outcomes. Quite a lot of them are bad. And so how do you avoid those outcomes? And of course, the preparation for that and the muscle memory, the standard operating procedures, the interaction, how you interplay with stakeholders in the process, who do you talk to, who don't you talk to, and how do you communicate? And also, what do you do to contain the situation initially, so that you remember to fly the airplane, not, as happened, checking a 10-cent bulb and flying at 10-11 into the Everglades. And so always fly the airplane.
Hmm.
And that's such an important element of, you have a crisis. Look, any organization is going to have a crisis at some point, and it's going to be public and it could be existential. It could have many features on it. So how are you going to cope with it? Because if you haven't rehearsed it and you haven't got procedures that will actually get you through that initial critical phase, you've got some quite significant issues to overcome when, not if, when a crisis hits. And it is that always that check at the end. You review it and say, okay, what have we missed? What is it that we've missed? And who's the person who's going to do that? Is it the person, the most junior person on the airplane who's sitting in the rear gallery goes, by the way, I think you should know. And that's the kind of mindset that saves lives and actually can make some really good decisions, really effective decisions, in my experience. So interesting. And so how do we, what do you think, Rick? Is the culturally, are we being seduced at the moment by AI into taking less critically analytical decisions, or are we over analyzing? What are we doing as a species at the moment? Where's our bias?
I think we're doing both. I think we're doing both. I think we're, on the one hand, getting lazy and turning, asking a few questions and then, off to the races we go because some smart computer in the clouds told me to do something. On the other hand, I've got clients who are spending hours every day with sometimes a free, sometimes a paid version of one of the large language models, asking every conceivable question you could think of. Because it's, you ask a question and it, spits out an answer, and then it's like so much of the early days of the web where you sort of ask a question intending to do X, and 5 hours later you're just buried down in the middle of nothing. So I think we're both using it as a shortcut when we need to be more thoughtful, and then oftentimes dissecting to the smallest degree some things that don't really matter.